It's painful to have an employee we're on the fence about. The decision we make about whether or not to keep them impacts a wide range of areas, and there are serious consequences to getting this right or wrong. Stay tuned and I'll share my only two criteria for deciding if a person should be on our team.
Running a service business can be hard. It is not unusual for business owners in industries like contracting, home repair, auto repair, business-to-business services like janitorial, IT and accounting, and many others to feel overwhelmed by all the priorities facing them at any given time. Between addressing the needs of the customers, managing the employees, figuring out the financials, and getting processes in place, feeling like you're making significant progress on your business journey can be difficult. Welcome to Service Industry Success, hosted by Brian Harding. Each week, Brian will look at real-world strategies for building the business you are dreaming of, while also sharing tactics to get through some of the most frustrating parts of business ownership with a lot more ease. Let's get started.
Before I did this podcast, I did another podcast where I used to interview business owners I knew, friends, peers, people I'd bumped into who had been successful. And I was basically an interview format where I would say, tell us the things you did well, tell us the things you didn't do well. And overwhelmingly, I think there was only a couple of exceptions to this. The number one thing they all said was their biggest failure was keeping a quote unquote bad employee too long. And I think I thought for me, that was really telling. First of all, it's nice to understand that I wasn't the only one, but also this is a huge problem we have to overcome. When we make mistakes, we feel like we're hemmed in. We're at the mercy of people who we, quite frankly, don't trust to make good decisions in some cases or do the right thing when nobody's looking. And then you look at our current situation, the last few years, like finding employees for most companies has been absolutely brutal. Most of us have not lived through a time like this where, finding employees has been so hard. So the question comes up oftentimes like, well, how do we decide? And what I'm going to talk about today, I want to be really clear. I'm not speaking about demand uncertainty and like finding the right amount of people to meet the workload. That's I think that's a different topic. So determining workforce size is not generally something that I hear people ask questions about. This is where, we have employees that we're not so sure about. And the basic two criteria I have is, the first one is they have to want to do a good job. Now, how do you know that? Well, you can't ever know that for sure, but we can see their patterns and behaviors and rituals and tendencies. And like over time, we learn this. And the reason this is my number one rule is because if I don't believe they want to do a good job, they've had whatever series of events or patterns, they miss every other Monday or whatever it is. If they have a problem that's related to them not caring, I can't fix that. I can't make it better. I can't make them care about something they're not going to care about. I can't make them be diligent about things only or I can't have a situation where they're only diligent when people are watching and then they're not when nobody's watching because it's not, somebody else will take care of it, or who cares? It's not my job. Like those kinds of issues, I don't have any ability to overcome that. And so once I determine that this person is just demonstrating a pattern that indicates they just don't care, they got to go. They got to be somebody else's problem. There's too much on the line. I mean, we could not have a team of people operating that way and hope to have any level of success. If they don't have a genuine interest and a sincere care to do a good job, I need them to go be somebody else's problem. It would be better for me to have one less person and be even more shorthanded, in my opinion. Most cases, there's exceptions, of course, but I'd rather be in that situation and have people I can count on who at least are interested in doing the right thing and care about trying to make things better, trying to be consistent, trying to learn, trying to grow, trying to improve, all those things. If I don't have that, I have no ability to take my eyeballs off things, and the problems that creates are, in my opinion, just frankly insurmountable. So that's the first thing, is they have to want to do a good job. And again, there's no way to measure this, that you can't ask questions that would, there's no survey you could send to find this out. This is just, from my perspective, is just watching behaviors and patterns and seeing what they tell us. The next criteria I have, again, there's only two. So that's the first one. If they don't care, I don't even go to the second one. um, but if they do care, the next question I have is, can I make them better? And what I mean by that is, do I have the skills to teach them or not? If I don't have the skills to teach them, like if I needed a CFO and I had an accounting clerk I wanted to bring up to be a CFO, I personally don't have the skills to do that. So that arrangement of me trying to turn the accounting clerk into a CFO would not work because I don't have the skills to do that. I can't teach them something I don't know. I could pay for them to go learn somewhere. That would be an option if the right, so that would be a situation where I would have the ability to make them better. We could send them to a class, for instance, or send them to a series of classes. That's all good. The other reason I might not be able to make them better is not just knowledge, but also time. If I know all this stuff they need to know, but I don't have the time to teach it, how can I make them better? I can't make them better if I don't have the time, or if somebody I have hired doesn't have the time, or a consultant comes in to teach them. So those are all different variations of having time. Is somebody has to have the time to make this person better. Somebody has to have the knowledge to make this person better. If I don't have either one of those two things and I'm not interested in outsourcing it, I don't know how this would work. I don't know how it'd work to have a person who we want to grow from, like an accounting clerk to be an accounting manager if we're not willing or able to invest what it would take to teach them. And so for me, this simplifies stuff in a lot of ways. My no matter what the employee problem is. Okay, well, the employee stole from us. Okay, can I make that better? No, I can't change that. I can't change their values. I very much believe that one time, once a person reaches adulthood, their values are their values more or less. Now, can they change over time? Sure. I mean, traumatic things happen to people, life altering events happen to people. Oh, sure, I got all that. But in something like theft or lying on their time card or things like that, I can't make that better. I don't have a solution for that. I don't. There's no knowledge I could give them to solve that problem. People adhering to our core values is another one. Like I don't have the ability to make somebody care about something they're not interested in caring about. If one of our core values is integrity and they don't really think that's a thing and they don't really think that it matters that they should have to adhere to that, they don't care to change their perspective and they don't really think it's a thing they should focus on, I don't have a solution for that. And so employees like that tend to be the ones that we say, this person's really great at their craft. They're really good at their trade. They know the technical work really well. Like if we're in a accounting industry situation, they turn out reports like clockwork, and their knowledge of numbers and financials is superb. But they're a pain in the butt to work with. Well, this is why, because our values aren't aligned. And this is where I think that root of the people in my former podcast saying the number one problem we had was keeping employees too long is we get hung up on their technical knowledge is good, the way they do the tasks, and they know all the processes and they know the industry and things like that. But the root of the issue is their behaviors don't line up with our values. And it's really hard to separate those things. So when I have a situation with an employee, I kind of look at it through two different lenses. There's the technical stuff, you know, tasks and actions and processes. Can I make them better on that? And then there's the behavioral stuff, you know, can I make them better on that? So, I don't mean make like force them. I mean like help them get better at those things. So, there's been instances where I've had employees who just had real problems with forgetfulness, and in some cases, we were able to overcome that because they wanted to get better at those things, and we tied a string around their finger or whatever it took to get better at those behavioral things. But there's been way more instances where employees had behavioral issues that we couldn't overcome, and the behavioral issues were the problem. It wasn't the responsibility, or it wasn't the adherence to processes and procedures and knowing the right thing to do and the right. It wasn't those things. I couldn't make them better as far as adhering to our core values. And so I think this is where we get in that position where, man, they're really good, but geez, they're a pain to work with. Well, okay, the thing that they're a pain to work with about, do they care? And can we make them better? If the answer is no to either one of those, then they got to go. They got to go find a place where they're a better fit. They got to go find a place where it won't be such a struggle for them to fit in. And I have to have people who I can absolutely trust to do these things without direct oversight, because I need to go do other things. I need to go out and get more customers. I need to go out and work with our marketing agency. I need to go out and, plan for the future and the things I need to do. I can't have people in place that I can't trust. And I can't trust them if they don't care. And I can't get them to a level of competence if I can't make them better. So those are the ways I look at this. Again, I split it between behaviors and responsibilities and tasks, actions, processes. I kind of split those in two different camps. Can I make them? Do they care about the technical stuff? And can I make them better there? Yes or no? Great. On the behavioral stuff, do they care about doing a good job of living and embodying our core values? And can I make them better? Yes or no? But they're two different sets of criteria. I mean, it's the same two criteria to determine if they should stay or not, but it's two different things I'm looking at. One is tasks, actions, process, procedure, systems, that kind of thing. Like, do they know their craft? And the other one is more about behaviors. But I'm asking these same two questions about both those things. So anyhow, I hope this helps. I know it's one of the things that people struggle with the most is you have that employee who's just a pain to work with, but they know the stuff. They're good, but they're just, sometimes they don't follow through. Sometimes they don't see things all the way through. Sometimes they don't take the initiative we wish. When something goes wrong, they shirk all responsibility. They don't want any part of any accountability. Well, I'm asking these two questions about those two things. Do they care? And can I make them better? So anyhow, I hope that helps. I know a lot of folks are going through situations right now where, we have people we're on the fence about because it's a little bit easier to hire than it used to be, but we still have like PTSD from not being able to hire anybody. So we're still kind of operating in that paradigm where, man, if you let this person go, the next one might be worse. So I hope this helps a lot. As always, if you find the information I share on here helpful, please forward this podcast to a friend or a colleague you think could benefit from it. And of course, public sharing is also appreciated. That's it for this week, and I'll talk to you all next week.